this sense of life as a danger, God as the enemy of man, happens when, of course, you're projecting a God, a personalized God, out of all these disowned bits of your own psychology, your own psyche. Whereas if you start doing all of this yoga and mysticism and magic stuff, you start poking into those corners. The first thing that will happen is everyone around you that you know is going to be scared stiff, they say, for your well-being, because they're concerned about you. They're not. They're like my mother. She was terrified. To the day she died, she was terrified of so many things. Odd ideas, strange ideas, new ideas. I took decades of my adult life coming to terms with that idea that I had been imprinted with a fear of living. And I think all of us get that to some extent. Not everybody. Some people are blessed with the fact that they're quite capable of going out there. I know people who come to where I live in Mexico and been there for decades and just thought, well, that's the next thing. Bless them for the fact they could do it. I couldn't. It took me many, many years to be ready to go and plunge into a completely alien culture with a funny language and all kinds of stuff that I wasn't expecting. Getting out of the fear is the next step, I think, in the development of consciousness. Crowley said that the formula for his true will, eventually he boiled it down to teach the next step, 5 words. And the next step was what we technically call the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, which is neshamic consciousness, but informed by the absolute essence of that, this thing we call the yechida, the essence. That's the Hebrew term. Ishvara in yoga and Hinduism would be the Sanskrit equivalent. An absolute quintessence of your own being, expressed as a higher consciousness, the neshama, and a full, I was going to say embrace of that, but rather being embraced by it, is the goal of the systems that the mystery schools use. Reaching a point where this stuff has interpenetrated every fiber of your being, every aspect of your mind, your psyche, and filled you with vitality, and told you to blast away, the doors that you've been nailing shut all around you through much of your life. Yeah.
I have a question about the knowledge and conversation.
Yeah.
Just having known a lot of adepti, they're not all the greatest people. And what I've kind of asked some, even chiefs of orders, you just basically, if you're in contact with your higher genius, shouldn't you be somehow living some sort of better, more moral life? Like, they still do really shitty things. And I'm wondering, like, can your holy guardian angel maybe not be so holy? Can they be connecting with their higher self, and maybe their higher self is corrupted as well? Is that a possibility, or is it just that they're not a good conduit, or maybe they're not, I don't know, really connected with their HG?
There's about 5 different answers I can offer
Sorry,
you
I
on that.
know.
No, but it's an interesting topic.
It's just something that I've been dealing with because I know so many chiefs of orders having been around, and a lot of them are shitty people. Like, look at Robert Zink.
I don't know him, and I'm not going to name any names in what I say, but I have encountered this phenomenon of the head of an order who is an absolute jerk. And possibly there are people in my order who think the same with me, I don't know. First of all, Holy Guardian Angel. Crowley chose that phrase because he said it's so ridiculous. It's just there to confound the metaphysical man. Nobody could possibly take it seriously, but unfortunately people do. It's not an angel, it's not necessarily a guardian, and it's not particularly holy. It's simply absolute vital life energy. It is amoral all the way through. Knowledge and conversation is not about information and words. It may well be a complete blanking out of conventional consciousness for just a universal awareness. Knowledge and conversation are also old words for sexual intercourse. Carnal knowledge and conversation is a euphemism that was used in Shakespearean times. Shakespeare is full of sexual metaphors that you don't get. Juliet keeps saying, "Thus I die." Well, that was just a code phrase for orgasm. He died, she died. You knew what it meant, nudge, nudge. Okay, that's knowledge and conversation, not meaning what it sounds like. Secondly, the personality is formed. Early in childhood, it becomes a bedrock. It's nefeshic. It becomes meshed with this very basic part of us. Hopefully, as you go through various spiritual processes, what you do is develop more awareness. If you're aware of your inner jerk, then you are not going to enact the full jerkiness of it. But I do not know anybody, temple chief, yogi, and I've met a couple of yogi types who are real fatheads. They've still got all this there. It doesn't go away. It's what I call the Scientological fallacy. They can clear you, but they can't. Nobody can get rid of that bedrock level of your personality from the day you're born to the day you die. I thought it would happen with me. I just sort of mature, and I wouldn't be bothered by the stuff I had to deal with when I was a terrified, insecure, introverted teenager. And you know what? You get to be 50, 60, and it's like, it's still there. And you can't abolish it. Some people, not naming any names, but you and I have encountered this, there might be a lot of ambition in what gets somebody to be the head of an order. There might be some real need for recognition, what the psychologists call narcissistic supply. Can everyone see I'm lecturing to the masses on spirituality? Could I have another round of applause louder? Thank you very much.
Call me Master so-and-so.
Call me the Master, yes.
Or call me Swami so-and-so.
Call me Swami. But it can be a lot subtler than that. It's a constant problem in the mysteries. But it gets worse with people who think I've now attained. This idea of attainment is a terrible trap. You don't attain. You take a step forward and you realize what's ahead of you. And provided you bear that in mind, the word humility has bad connotations in Thelema because it means sort of, groveling, I am not worthy, O Lord. Well, yes, I am worthy. I exist. I'm part of the created universe. I am a creative being within this total cosmos. I'm here to attain certain things, to understand certain things, to do certain things. I should do them. But humility means an awareness that I haven't got all the way yet, and it's up there.
So humility is not about groveling, it's just about being brutally honest with yourself.
Just awareness. I'm a great believer that if you're developing more awareness as you go through, you don't fall into quite as many traps. Personal anecdote, the big thing in a mystery school is becoming an adept. You go through these elemental degrees, you've done all these practices, you've memorized all these lists of Hebrew terms, you know your neshama from your nefesh. You've got all that down, you don't even have to write it on your cuff anymore. You've got it up here. And they put you through this ceremony. And it's like, finally, I am one. And the one they put me through was amazing, and I came out of there sort of glowing. People said I glowed. And I can remember stepping out of the place where we were doing this ceremony and sort of getting a vision of the road ahead. And it suddenly transformed into foothills. And then it was like a mountain that went up like that. And it was like, holy